Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to do the nursing modification for the DayDream dress. I've tried this a couple of different ways, and this is what I found to be the easiest and simplest. So you're going to follow the pattern instructions through attaching the straps, and so you should end up with the front with the waistband attached, the back with the waistband attached, and then the lining that's attached up until that point that's marked on the bodice where it says to stop. And now, instead of following the pattern instructions for the rest, to do the nursing modification, you're actually going to do a little flip here, and I thought it might be helpful to have a video for you to show you how I do that. You're going to take the front bodice, and I've basted it a little bit here just to make it easier to line up my waistband. You're going to take the front bodice, you're going to flip it, and line it up with the back bodice. And you may not have a waistband, that's okay, but this just kind of makes it easier to see. So you have the front and the back bodice that are right sides together, the main front and main back. And then you have that seam where the lining and the main fabric meet, and you're going to make sure that that seam is lined up. And then you also have the lining, the front and back lining, right sides together. So what you're going to do is you're just going to sew a straight line right down here, and that's going to allow you to keep the front and back linings and the bodices separate so that you can pull up to nurse. So I'm going to show you now. I'm just going to go ahead and serge down that seam and then show you how that works. And you're also going to want to do it, of course, for the other side. You're going to sew right down here, and your straps at this point are going to be tucked inside, so you want to make sure that you're not serging over those or sewing over those in any way, but you're going to sew right down here. Okay, so let me go over and do that, and then I'll show you how that looks. Okay, so now we have our bodice that I've serged here. Did a little extra sewing there to make sure it lined up. And so I'm just going to show you how, if we turn it back right side out, we have all those side seams sewn together, and then the back, but they stayed separate, so we now have the ability to pull up and nurse. Now the way that I did this, you are going to see the inner seams when you do pull up and nurse. My theory was that nobody's going to be looking that closely, hopefully, except for the baby, and they won't mind. You could potentially try to figure out how to make this seam on the inside, but with the straps that was a little tricky, so I just figured this would be the quickest and easiest way for us to do it. So I hope that that video helps show you how to do the nursing modification. After you are ready and kind of all done with the dress and you have the skirt sewed on, you're going to try the dress on, pull it up, and then mark where you want your holes or your slits for nursing access, and then you're going to actually cut those out at that time. But I recommend waiting until you have the skirt sewed on the bodice, because that can affect how the bodice sits.
Okay, so now we are going to attach the bodice to the skirt, but we are not going to attach the outer layer so that it is free to pull up and nurse. Here's how. With the skirt right sides out, slip the bodice over the skirt so that the right side of the outer bodice is right sides together with the skirt. Push it out of the way and pin the lining only to the skirt with the wrong side of the lining to the right side of the skirt, making sure the gathers are distributed evenly. Sew or serge them together. Next, we will sew the elastic onto the outer bodice. I used 1/4 inch elastic, but this is up to you. The thinner elastic is better because it'll leave less room for the underbodice to show through when you pull up to nurse. Cut the elastic at about 85% of the waistband measurement of the bodice you have in front of you, plus 1/2 inch. Sew on to the wrong or underside of the outer bodice, stretching it slightly and overlapping the ends by 1/2 inch. Use a zigzag stitch. Fold it over and stitch it down from the top with a stretch stitch. The elastic should be fully hidden now. Note that the top bodice will be barely longer than the underbodice. You may want to attach the lining or the underbodice with a larger seam allowance and/or cut it slightly shorter before serging it to the skirt so it doesn't show.
Okay, so that's it. You did it. You should have a beautiful daydream dress with a pull-up nursing option. Let me know if you have any questions and be sure you share your creations in our sew-along group.